In what can be considered as a significant deflection, some of the Russian military units are on their way back from the Ukrainian border. It's not clear as to how many units have been withdrawn from the borders and what distance we are talking about. But the last estimates claim around 130,000 Russian troops stationed to the north, east and southern borders of Ukraine. Meanwhile, the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has paid a visit to the President of Russia in Moscow. The leaders sat across the meeting table and held diplomatic talks to try and diffuse the escalating tensions around Ukraine. This meeting is the latest diplomatic effort launched by the Western leaders. Listen in.
Aber ich bin froh, dass das jetzt möglich ist und dass wir darüber sprechen können. Denn das Wichtigste ist ja, dass wir die Beziehungen zwischen den Staaten durch gute Gespräche miteinander lösen und das der Weg ist.
The Russian-German energy cooperation is a priority for Moscow. It views Berlin as one of its main partners. Germany's economic ties with Russia complicating the united Western Front to confront Russia in case of a Russian invasion of Ukraine. The German Chancellor believes that the world leaders have to confront the difficult situation concerning peace and security in Europe. Germany is the third European country after France and the UK to pay a diplomatic visit to Ukraine, followed by Russia. Efforts have reports claiming that the German Chancellor declined a Kremlin-administered COVID-19 test during his Moscow visit and also opted for a swab from one of Berlin's own doctors. And we earlier spoke to our correspondent Trent Murray in Berlin, where he spoke about the latest evacuation measures and the possible sanctions that the West might impose against Russia in case of an invasion. Listen in.
It is an alarming development, isn't it? More and more countries lining up to tell their citizens that if they're in Ukraine, it's time to get out. Of course, Germany joining the UK, the US, Israel, Australia, the list is getting very, very longer. I think much of this is being driven by intelligence, both out of the Pentagon in the US and also out of London, signalling that an attack could take place at any moment. I mean, the language we are hearing from Washington and London, and especially in all of this, is just extraordinary, saying things like an attack could be imminent. Of course, the US Embassy also essentially closing up shop in Kyiv and moving to the west of the country. I think it's against that backdrop, though, that Olaf Scholz and other European representatives will continue to go to the region to try and defuse these tensions. But it does come as other warnings start to emerge across Europe. The latest is a suggestion that there could be some cyber attacks possibly on the way, a wave of cyber attacks on NATO countries. Again, that suggestion coming out of both US and British intelligence. So this has got many, many European capitals quite nervous, which is why I think this meeting today between Olaf Scholz and President Putin will be watched by many, many people to see if we can try and find a way to just bring the temperature down in all of this. Much of the discussion has been centred around the type of economic damage it could do to Russia, but of course, Russia, in reverse, does do a lot of business with European countries, including right here in Germany. Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission President, has said that the EU values its relationship with Russia, its trading relationship, but Russia values it and needs it more. In other words, yes, Europe would have to take a bit of an economic hit in all of this as well, but it would impact Russia a lot more. One area of particular noteworthiness is energy, gas. Europe relies a lot on Russian gas essentially to keep the lights on, especially over winter. About 40% of its gas needs come from Russia. We understand the European Union has been stepping up conversations with countries like Qatar and Norway to try and see if they will be available to help provide additional supplies to help fill that gap if there is some sort of disruption from Russia.
Russia has pulled back some of its troops from near the Ukraine border, is what Russia is claiming at this point. Our Moscow correspondent Stuart Smith getting you more.
So Russia's divided into different military districts, and as we've learned throughout the last month, some have come from as far east as the Eastern Military District right near Vladivostok, closer to Japan than Ukraine. But this is the troops, apparently, according to the Ministry of Defence, from the southern and western military districts, the districts closer to Ukraine, not the ones stationed in Belarus, mind, but the other ones. And they have now, some of them, been recalled, according to the Ministry of Defence, because the drills they were due to take part in have been concluded. It's not clear exactly which specific drills that is in reference to, because there have been multiple drills taking place all the time, some announced at short notice, some long planned. And we know, though, that this is starting already. The announcement came today, and already troops and equipment are being put onto railways and moved east. Now, we don't know if this is, of course, the start of something more. Is this the de-escalation which the United States and NATO allies have been trying to get for weeks, or is this simply the movement of a small number of troops?
WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.